here for another edition of the MAGA Media Podcast. We're back with Lisa Ripp. How are you doing today, Lisa?
I'm good. I'm here at my house this time and not sitting in my car, so I feel a little bit more comfortable and doing this the second time. We'll talk about E. Jean Carrol. Go to her Twitter page, and it sort of stood out to me that her pinned tweet reads, "The most dangerous woman is a woman who has nothing to lose, and the most dangerous man is who has everything to lose." And I thought about that for a moment, and I kind of stopped there, and I began to watch the videos. And the first video that came up to me was a video she did with Anderson Cooper.
Yes, I seen that one.
Yes, and she describes rape as sexual and sexy. And that even, as far off as Anderson Cooper is, that really threw him for a loop if you saw his face, and he immediately cut to a commercial.
Yeah, she seems very unstable.
She said, most people find rape sexy. Mm-hmm. That's what she said. Most people find rape sexy. And I never thought it was sexy even before it happened, and I certainly don't think it's sexy now. And I would have to think that most of the majority of people don't think that rape is a sexy thing. But it goes to bear that the state of mind, if you go to her story, and this is even what she wrote is what she's saying happened, that she bumped into Donald Trump at the Bergman-Dorf's or whatever this fancy department store is in New York. And this person, they chit-chatted, and he followed her into a dressing room of this public place. And in some places in her article, she said she didn't know it was raped. And then some places she says she was stomping his feet and hitting him in the head with her purse. But yet no one heard anything. And when this perfect stranger, zipped up and walked out, she didn't say, "Hey, I was just raped," or something really bad just happened to me, or I need the police. And I'm not saying that is, could never possibly happen, but the odds that it was a billionaire that happened to follow you in to do that in a public place, to commit such a heinous crime in a public place, knowing that he could easily get caught if she screamed, seems highly unlikely to me. So I know that there was another Les Moonves I read that she also claims raped her inside of an elevator. And that goes back to the sexual fantasies that, that I think that she even admitted that, she feels like most people have about rape when you talk about these close spaces. And these stores are kind of like the same a little bit, that, in this public place and that kind of thing. So that kind of stood out to me.
What are the odds that you would be raped by not one but two billionaires?
Yeah, exactly.
Is in charge of NBC, so I'm sure he's rolling in the dough as well as Donald Trump.
So you kind of like, I'm still reading this and everything, but then you really get into, there's one video, and people can look it up. There's one video where she does the Hideous Man walking tour. So she's got a book. Now, her book kind of talks about hideous men and what are men good for, and we want to get rid of all men, and that's basically the theme of what she wants to do, that what do we need men for anyway? And she literally did a tour of towns that were named after women to go find out, and that was her quest that she did. And she said that, she says, what I'm doing to the president really isn't going to do anything to him, but it's going to make a record. So if thousands of us do it, we could really do something. So that goes to say, so that's what happens when these women make these accusations like this.
Right.
It completely, they add up. So if you read down also, I read an article of all the women that said that, this happened. Some of these, their name is sexual assault. They're saying that he grabbed their butt. Some saying that he looked at them while they were getting dressed. Or, they vary from degrees of what the people are saying. So you read further down her Twitter, and she's basically saying, I'm going to be part of this impeachment. And she says that she's going to get his tax returns because he has to prove that he was living in the White House. So you see, there's definitely an agenda here. And, I believe the lady has been hurt by someone, but I don't believe it's all these billionaires that she's saying that it is, because she definitely fantasized about, she admits that she fantasized about, that most people fantasize and think rape is sexy. So from her own words, and those aren't mine, those are hers. And I just have to raise the BS flag on this one too, because I've read, looking at all of it, and everyone is privy to reading all of these things, but it doesn't add up. You see the agenda. Now you see the timing, like when she first came out with this was 11 days before she launched her book, and then the New York Times article. So she's saying now,
which was the height of President Trump's popularity. She's had all these years before this.
Right.
Now that President Trump is president, she wants to speak out. Seems odd as well.
Right. She doesn't remember if it was the fall of 95 or the spring of 96. But she says that she had this Donna Karan dress that she absolutely loved and couldn't bear to throw it away, but she could never bear to wear it again. So she's had it hanging in her closet for these 30 years. And now she is demanding a DNA sample from Donald Trump, because she's saying that there was evidence left on it. I don't know how well 30 years, being stuffed in a closet, if it's even, whatever. But it could be another, smoke and mirrors. The president has so many things he's running the world right now, pretty much. To do all these type of things. And when she first came out with it, I've looked and I could be wrong, but I've looked and scanned every article when she first came out, and there was nothing about there being a stain on this particular dress, which kind of almost sounds really familiar. And even Joy Behar brought this up, because she's been on all the talk shows and done all this type of thing, had said, well, Bill Clinton had to give his, Bill Clinton did this in the Oval Office, and it was an 18-year-old girl, and there was a very short time period that she reported, and that all that went on. So it's a completely different situation, but it almost seems as if she's emulating that type of gotcha with the dress thing or whatever, and it's more than likely going to...
The DNA is actually on the sleeve of the dress as well?
I didn't read that. But she's saying it's something, because she said that they were challenging each other to try on bodysuits, and Donald Trump put one on him, and she put one on her together in the lingerie closet or whatever, and then he, forced her stuff down and did, the deed and just left. And she's a sophisticated lady. She was writing columns for Elle, and she wasn't a dumb person. And anyone, you would think that if something egregious like that had happened to you, that you would run out saying, "Stop that man." That I don't understand what that mindset, or for you to know, it almost is that kind of brings you back to that Blasey Ford thing. Remember when she was talking like a 14-year-old and all that? I'm not smart enough to know if this was this or not. Well, if you're having to stomp someone's feet and hit him in the head with a purse and he's hurting you, that's a very violent act. And I'm sorry for anyone that has to go through something like that. But I think people hate this man so much that they're willing to put out all common sense and just go with this. So this is going to be what's probably going to be, but I read something kind of positive. It looks like 5 Sunday shows have turned her down for talking about him. And I also wanted to talk about, they say about Judge Doris Lynn Cohen had squashed his Donald Trump's request to have it thrown out. But they don't say why. Do you know why? It's because she didn't have jurisdiction. Donald Trump was either in Washington or Florida or somewhere when he made the tweet or made the announcement that he didn't know her and she wasn't his type. So she's defaming, she's suing him for defamation, for saying that he didn't rape her and that she wasn't her type. So she's got this defamation lawsuit for God only knows how much money going on right now.
Well, Lisa, you obviously do not believe E. Jean Carroll, but
I do not.
unfortunately, CNN has put her on. She's been in several newspapers giving articles and other television stations. What does that say to other women who might want to damage a man with some fake allegation? It shows that even if you don't have any facts behind you, the media will still give you some attention, wouldn't you think?
It depends on who you're accusing and what side you're on, whether that happens or not. Because I know, as if I hate to keep throwing her name out here, but it just comes to mind of who has not been treated with the same respect, and that's Juanita Broaddrick or any of the other Clinton rape victims.
Absolutely.
They've never been asked to go on these shows or to talk about what happened, and they steer clear of them, and it's not fair. So it really just depends on who you are and who you're accusing, is whether you're going to get that type of media time. And unfortunately, this lady's going to have a little bit more time in the spotlight demanding this DNA from the president. And it may or may not be his, she says, but there's something on there. And just the entire way she's saying it happened, it really doesn't make a lot of sense. And there's so much political motive here, and her own Twitter page is full of bringing down the rich boys and bringing down this and all of that. So we go back to where I first started with this, and that was the next thing we were going to talk about. So when I watched what happened to Judge Roy Moore here in Alabama.
But
and
you said it depends which side of the political aisle you're on, it seems to be.
Exactly. And, Doug Jones today was in the news because he voted to impeach our president. Well, Doug Jones wouldn't even be a senator if it weren't for fake accusers. Mm-hmm. This is the impact that these allegations and what Me Too has brought, is that you could come out and you could say anything about anybody.
When Judge Moore was running, and just the 24/7 assault on him about these allegations, I felt horrible for Judge Moore. God-loving man. It was just awful to see what he was
married like 46 years to the same lady. Mm-hmm. Had fought for the 10 Commandments here in Alabama, had fought for the sanctity of marriage, had fought for life. And he was just completely railroaded by these women. But by the time they got caught in their lies, the damage was done. I can't fathom saying, hey, Richard LeBeau, if you, can write me a check, I'll just let all this go. Mm-hmm. I don't understand that. I don't understand that when you've really had this happen to you, how you could do something like that. And
unfortunately, I've just seen that with Weinstein. A lot of his accusers settled civilly with him to not testify against him.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. And now we know that he hurt a lot of people. Mm-hmm. We know that he used his power to get what he wanted. But there was still in some cases it was worse than others for sure. And I hope that these are the ones that aren't settling civilly. But many of them knew this was the price for the place they wanted to get in stardom, for their dream, and they made that decision and regretted it. And I don't blame them for regretting it and stuff, because we all do things that we regret. And I don't want to feel like I'm judging these ladies or whatever. But when I'm talking about rape, I'm talking about real rape. I'm not talking about having sex with someone that you regret. I'm not talking about having sex with someone and some guy, pledges his love to you that night and then doesn't call you the next day. That doesn't mean that he raped. That means he conned you. It's a big difference. And the word rape has been so watered down, to where it hardly means anything anymore. And then when you have all of these fake accusations and you have these fake accusers and stuff, it hurts real victims from coming out. It does two things. It hurts real victims from wanting to say anything because it's hard enough as it is. And it also emboldens people who've never been raped to figure out a way to get either revenge, to get power, get money, or, on the higher echelon of all of this, throw a senator's race.
Now, Lisa, you've been following a little bit of this Amber Heard and Johnny Depp situation. I've seen it trending #1 on Twitter the other day. I'm not too knowledgeable on it, but in a couple minutes, what's your opinion on what's going on with that situation?
I didn't know a lot about it. I think I heard something in the news about, Johnny Depp being a domestic abuser and everything before, and I didn't really get into it until I started seeing this thing, like you said, Justice for Johnny Depp, and I began to listen. He was telling the truth. In his case, he was telling the truth, and she had lied about, but that's still that same Me Too climate that whatever the woman says is what's going to be. He was completely assassinated by the media as being this domestic violence. I think she won the custody of the kids. She won court cases and everything else because everyone believed her. But we come to find out she was lying, and by her own video. What does this do? What does this do? This hurts victims. Bottom line, when you go lie about domestic violence, when you go lie about rape, when you do all this hurts victims. This hurts people who are really, really trying to get help, because it gets a climate, because you see like the men commented underneath that, this woman lied. I saw comments of, one man said that his girlfriend went and literally beat herself in the face just to call the police to have him arrested. These things actually happen. And what does this do? Real women who are getting the crap beat out of them all the time aren't getting help.
Which leads us to our next topic, back to the fake Me Too, Nicole Eggert. She is still obsessed with Scott Baio and attacking everything about him, his career, trying to ruin his life, attacking his wife. She's even came after Lisa for defending Scott Baio, as we covered last time. What's the latest with Nicole Eggert? Is she still on the attack, Lisa?
What they did is they took a piece of a story that they said I was a registered sex offender, for 19, 18 years. And they also knew that particular charge under sex offender in Louisiana was an old antiquated law that was the code was completely associated with solicitation. It wasn't anything of going and hurting a sex offender like what you think sex offender, going out and hurting someone, raping someone, hurting a child, or any of those type of things. But, they didn't put any of that in there. There's clips of this article, and you can see where they kind of cut the bottom of it so they couldn't get the rest, that I was a sex offender. And it was very difficult to see that, because I got a pardon, finally got that off my record, a pardon for that in 2017. And it was a long, long life living with that, out there. If any kind of background check came up or whatever, even though I wasn't registered or having to register or having to go by any of that, I still had that on my record until 2017, because they have just really tried to completely shred my entire recovery story. Everything about me, everything that I've worked hard for to rebuild the life.
This should show everyone everything they need to know about Nicole Eggert's character. To attack a real rape victim with this kind of nonsense is just one of the most vile things I've ever even heard of. Like you said, it brought back bad memories for you. It's just awful that she would do that. And here she is sitting on her high horse trying to accuse Scott Baio, who's taken multiple lie detector tests to prove his innocence. He's kept the same story and consistency the entire time. She's continued to change her story. It's just unbelievable what this woman continues to do.
Fake claims hurt real victims. What on the big scale of what E.G. and Carol's trying to do, and what Nicole's trying to do, and these other ones, what Amber Heard tried to do, and now she's finally been revealed. And I hope for the rest of them that they are. But even with all that going on, where it was really getting me is that this is hurting real victims. So when a real victim goes to tell their story or goes to court, they're going to have all these case studies of all these women that lied and saying, well, this sounds like this one and this one and this one. And people are not going to want to come forward at all. And it's just giving the education of people who want to use this for their own benefit as con artists, and they've slipped in under our pain. They slipped in here to where they know no one's going to say anything. No one's going to tell a rape victim that you're not telling the truth. And, how dare you do that? You weren't there. You don't know, this kind of thing. Well, I've got this gut, and I had this gut about Scott Baio and Nicole, and she has completely proved me right. And Dr. Oz, let's talk about Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz asked Scott for comments. Scott sent everything to him that came in the Facebook Live and more. And if I remember right on the video, he got something back saying they weren't going to run with the thing with Nicole. The next thing you know, they went with it and let her go and tell this story. But he's never given Scott the opportunity, the same airtime. The poor man had to go on Facebook Live just to be able to tell his story, because none of the other media outlets would listen to him. And the things, that her friend Nick Ritchie in that dirty.com has a nasty post about Renee. And, I'm trying to look some more into that. I think you have to get a court order to get it down, or pay money or whatever to get it off his site. And it's, it's just trying to make her look like she's a bad person and does nasty things, So it's just an ugly, ugly, ugly post. And the attacks on that, and the attacks on, I think the one I saw today was attacks on their parenting. It's really sad, and they're just pulling things from out of nowhere, just like they did with my story, trying to take this and take this and take this, and then make it something that it's not, and then leave it. It's almost like burning the forest down, and then making the accusation and walking away. And that's the same thing that this fake Me Too does. You can go in and do all the damage in the world that you want, and then when it's over, you can just walk away.
It's hard to imagine what kind of person would even do this. It's just unbelievable. First, she comes after Scott with fake allegations, tries to ruin his career, ruin his credibility and his reputation, and then he gets proven to be innocent. And then now she's attacking his wife, his parenting. It's just, what kind of person is she? It's just terrible.
She only tweeted me directly from her official, I think, once, and she asked me who made me judge and jury, and I tweeted back what you did when you put all your stuff out on social media. What is your end game, Nicole? What's the end game here? I mean, are you trying to sue him for money? Is it when he's not going to give you any? I mean, you're just trying to cause him damage.
That's what it seems like it is at this point. She has to know that she's not going to get any money out of him.
No, because he stood firm, because he didn't do it. Mm-hmm. There's a really sad video of when she had talked to TMZ and said something about his daughter needed to be careful around him, and you just saw it just broke his heart. It's like, why even bring that up? And like I said, they've been a little bit easy on me the last couple of days, and they've diverted everything to Scott's wife. And this poor lady has to read this stuff, and it's going out, and it's a living hell.
Part of me wonders if it's just jealousy, because when you speak to people, they know about Scott Baio. They can tell you about Carrol's in Charge and all the other great TV shows he appeared on. But when you bring up Nicole Eggert, people are, a lot of times nowadays, they don't remember her. Carrol's in Charge. It's just like she's got career and personal jealousy of Scott Baio. She's tried to ruin his career unsuccessfully. It's just really sad.
I have seen, and this is just me, and like I said, I've never spoke to Scott on the phone or his wife on the phone or anything. It's only been through message, so it's not like I know these people really personally. But if I were to give my opinion, I would say that she is extremely jealous of Scott's wife. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of jealousy going on there when I see some of the things that she actually has posted from her official.
And Scott's got a great family.
Yes. So. And that's all he wants to do is he wants to work, be with his wife, and take care of his child. Mm-hmm. To have to be obsessed and deal with Nicole Eggert and all this kind of stuff, it's just ridiculous. It just needs to end. All of it needs to end. It's terrible.
Everyone should keep the Baios and anyone who is affected by these fake Me Too liars in their prayers, because it does make life difficult, even if the allegations are completely false. It's just a terrible thing to have to go through. And to wrap things up, Lisa,
Okay.
we appreciate you coming on. Is there
All
anything
right.
else you'd like to touch on?
The whole story doesn't make any sense. And she said herself that she's just making a record, but if thousands of people come forward, it'll really make a difference. And I know that she wants the president out of there. She wants to get rid of the men, and that's definitely strong. She makes no beans about it in her Twitter. So I hope that doesn't go anywhere, and I hope that the president can just move on and do what he's been doing and making our country great and keeping it great and doing the things that he's been doing, because the attacks on his wife as well. I mean, that they attacked Melania like severely as well. It's just a hatred and a jealousy, and I just wish the president the best. We will watch it unfold in perfect time. And now that the impeachment hoax is over, you're going to be hearing about this DNA request and all that kind of stuff.
Don't be surprised if they spring up some more fake accusers on President Trump before it's all said and done.
I mean, all the other stuff's important too, but the bottom line is to getting real victims to where they can come forward and talk with and be believed. And as long as these fake Me Too liars are coming out there, that's making it harder and harder by the day for us. And that's why I'm here saying the things that I'm saying. So,
absolutely, great message, Lisa. Great episode. We appreciate you coming on, and we will.
I appreciate you.
Again. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.